Welcome back to the new Frontline. My name is Siena, and in this episode, we're going to be doing another reaction video. This time, it's to a ridiculous reel posted several months ago by an Instagram profile called Labor on the Line. Labor on the Line is a pro-union Instagram account that posts a lot of reels and inflammatory stories that just rile up union sympathizers. They accuse a lot of things of being racist and anti-working class, and they use historical stories to manufacture gravitas and weight for present-day issues. They have good editing and style to their videos, I'll give them that, but that's pretty much it. When you strip down their content to the base information, the gaps in their logic and in their arguments become readily apparent. The video in question was actually posted in October of last year, 2024. We saw it shortly after it came out, but this podcast wasn't up and running yet, so we decided to table it until we were ready to tackle it. And that brings us kind of up to speed. Similar with the SSCU podcast, we're only going to be watching a few clips. We're not going to watch the entire thing. I will have the whole video linked down in full if you want to see all of it, but I have a few clips I selected that I want to respond to. And with that, we will dive right in.
Someone sends you a fake check in the mail telling you it's free money, you would be right not to trust it. The so-called Freedom Foundation is doing just that to try to trick workers into leaving their union.
Okay, to start, the gal in this video is wearing an Eat the Rich shirt, which is so ridiculous and ironic. I could focus on that one, but I'm not going to. I'm going to focus on the actual content of this video. She opens the video with a focus on a mailer that we sent out and tries to claim that we use it to trick workers. This mailer, which she flashes up pictures on the screen, they're quick pictures, but albeit they're there, it's one of the most popular and effective mailers that we have ever made. It's effective because it's a visual representation of a lump sum amount that you are paying to your union in dues every year. Because sometimes it can be hard to realize how much you're spending. Similar to a subscription model, it's a few bucks here, it's a few bucks there, but showing you a big check visually, this is how much money you're sending out of your paycheck to an organization that doesn't do anything for you, is compelling. It's effective. It also says across the top of the mailer at least 5 times, not a check, not a check, not a check, not a check. It says it several times very clearly across the top of the mailer. You can't miss it. So it's simply not a trick. If it's anything, it's a very sleek and well-designed piece of mailing that our marketing team put together. So congrats to our marketing team. But people will try and attack this mailer all the time. This is one of the comments focus that I see all the time, is that people don't like this mailer because it's effective, not because it's a trick. It's because it's an effective display of how much money you are spending to your union every year. The last thing I have to say about this is that if you get an unexpected check in the mail from an organization you don't recognize, that you're not expecting, and that says across the top of it, not a check, and you still decide to sign it and send it back thinking you'll get more, like some real amount of money. My friend, I must say this with all the love in the world, I have a few concerns for you if you will sign a check that says not a check and still send it in thinking you'll get money. So, there you go. Moving on.
Well, the Freedom Foundation is a think tank that boldly claims to be fighting for workers' rights. But really, they are a right-wing, pro-corporation organization that has been attacking public sector unions and government services for decades.
So this lady, this is so annoying and tiresome. This lady, similar to the SSCU video I watched a few weeks ago, makes the mistake of categorizing us as a think tank. And she says that while she's playing an ad on the screen on the video that says Freedom Foundation is not a think tank, it's a battle tank. It's one of our ads. So it's comical to me that she's saying that while what she's showing on the screen is something entirely different. But also, like, I've talked about this before, precision of language is important, babe. If you're going to attack us, at least do us the right of categorizing us correctly, because otherwise it looks like you don't know what you're talking about. The fact that you say one thing and you're showing another thing on the video, there's this insane disconnect where it's like, what am I supposed to be believing? Because what you're saying is not matching up what the words are. You can attack us and still call us rightly what we are. It's so simple and silly to me that she won't even do that. But then, moving on. She spouts that when we claim to fight for workers' rights while attacking government services and unions or whatever, this is simply incorrect. The way she's saying it is that the reason why is that these people are primarily upset that the way that we fight for workers' freedoms does not fit their very narrow perception of what fighting for worker freedoms should look like. To them, the only way to be pro-worker is to be pro-union. Incorrect. Entirely incorrect. You can be pro-worker and believe that unions are not the end-all, be-all answer to what's going on in the labor movement and for workers' rights. Unions are an option. It's not a trick to attempt to inform public workers of that, or of their option to opt in or opt out when it comes to union membership. And I will shout that emphatically, is that you don't have to be pro-union to be pro-worker. That's a big thing to note, too, about these type of videos that we're reacting to and the general dialogue that unions push when it comes to labor movement is that it's their favorite fallacy, is what I like to think of it to myself, is that to be pro-worker, you have to be pro-union. That's what they want you to think, when that is entirely incorrect. The two have been linked closely, but one is not beholden to the other. You can be one thing without being the other. And it's really dishonest and frustrating to me, and just a very poor faith representation of what's going on in the labor movement, that they make you think that to be pro-worker, you have to be pro-union. Moving on, there's also a part where she talks about our donor base and tries to imply that because we are funded by people who work in the private sector to make their money, that it somehow means that we don't really believe in supporting public sector workers. I skip past it because I don't really understand what the point of this section is. I really don't understand her argument. I don't know what she's trying to make. It's like you're drawing evidence from one thing and trying to point to a response or a cause and effect relationship where there is none. So I don't really know what she's trying to say there. If you want to watch it, again, the whole video of this will be linked down below. I really don't know what she's trying to say here, but that's another frustrating attempt where she is pointing the finger at us and then she tries to point it over to our donor base too. And I'm like, you're not, the point isn't made, which shouldn't be a surprise at this point, but we'll move on to the next clip.
In 2018, the Janus decision by the Supreme Court made open shop the law of the land, meaning membership became opt-in for all public sector unionized workers. This attack was meant to undercut union membership.
No, girl, no. The ruling of Janus v. AFSCME was meant to solidify every public worker's right to realistically choose what they do and do not want to be a part of. Why? I don't know why this is so hard for everyone to understand. Because y'all paint this picture that we are out to spite the working class in a way that makes absolutely no sense. And the funny part is that in doing so, you come across as trying to purposely manhandle every single public employee that there is. You guys don't understand is that people who love their union will stay in their union. You don't need to worry about them. Yet you, for some reason, want rules to exist that would force every single public worker to be in a union whether they like it or not. Explain to me how that manhandling is somehow pro-worker, because I simply don't get it.
After Janus was handed down, the Freedom Foundation began their deceptive campaign to push public sector union members to leave their union.
Oh, and then she goes right back to claiming that we run a deceptive campaign that we seek to push workers to leave their unions. All we are doing, honestly, hand on a stack of Bibles, is telling people that they can opt out, and then we help people when they need help doing so. I swear, union leaders and organizers must have some sort of freaking God complex, because the way they talk about their union is akin to some unsavory form of self-worship. Like, do you hear how she talks about this? People forget that unions are an optional resource that people can choose to be a part of. It should not be a big shock to this gal or to any other big government leader that some people don't want to utilize that option. And you shouldn't be mean to them. There shouldn't be any vindictive response to that. You shouldn't hold them hostage when they want to leave your union, and yet that's what they do. Time and time again, that's what they do. It's really sad. I mean, like, what a pessimistic world and mindset to live in, honestly. Moving on.
They started to send mailers to unionized public employees, and the mailers included what looked a lot like a check and instructions for how they could cash it.
Okay, she goes back again to showing the mailer because they love this mailer, or I suppose they hate it, but they love to hate it. She shows the mailer again, and what's interesting about this part is that you can pause it and read the top of it because she shows it in a larger picture. You can see visually there are the words, "This is not a check," written across the top of it over and over again. What's the problem here, girl? There isn't one. You're just mad that we have a great marketing team that came up with something so visually compelling that it compels people to take back their money and take back their rights and choose to leave their union if they want to. They're trying to make a big deal out of nothing here, and they're grasping at straws because they keep going back to the same thing, like this particular mailer, like these different fallacies, like to be pro-worker, you must be pro-union. Oh my goodness. Moving on.
Corporations and billionaires have endless money, and dues are an important part of how we as workers build power to effectively fight the boss.
This is so sad and so incorrect on so many levels. First of all, you are doing yourself and your union a grand disservice by painting yourself purely as anarchists. A culture and a world cannot survive on rage. And what you just said, basically, that your dues money funds fighting and therefore violence, rage and pain and suffering cannot be far behind. If that's the world you want to live in, more power to you, I suppose, but I feel terribly bad for you, because if you live with that outlook on life and with that intention with what you want to do with your money and what you want to fund, man, things aren't going to get better. They're just going to continue to get worse. Then she highlights how much money millionaires and billionaires have and then compares it to dues money in a way that makes it seem like millionaires and billionaires and whatever have more money than unions. However, unions every year rake in hundreds of millions of dollars from their dues paying members. And the return on investment in those dues is freaking abysmal. You'll spend hundreds of dollars in a union, and the amount that they spend on you is a fraction, a percentage of what you're spending. So like, where's the rest of that money going? Why do they charge you so much in dues if they know that it only takes a small percentage to actually care for you? And even then they aren't even caring for you well. At the end of the day, when I watch these sort of videos, when you watch them, you should be populated with questions about like, why is she saying this? What does she actually mean? If we were to dig a little bit deeper, what are we going to find? And how do we follow the money? Because when you follow the money in particular, when you follow the receipts and the paper trail, is that cannot lie. The cold hard cash and where they're spending it simply doesn't lie, when these people will spin the webs of lies around you all day to keep you from asking the important questions. And that's I feel like this whole video could be summed up in that, is that she's just walking us in circles because she doesn't really have anything meaningful to say. And when she has something meaningful to say, it's based in bad faith. And it shows a culture and a viewpoint that is negative and pessimistic and anarchist in nature.
This time, they added a twist, attacking my union's democratic stance in solidarity with Palestine. Clearly, unionized workers wielding our power against the war machine did not sit well with these billionaires.
Wow. Okay, yeah, you are way out of line here, sister. There was a part that I skipped past between this clip and the last one. It was about 30 seconds or so of her complaining about another round of mailers that we sent out that were specific to her union and in California, I believe. And in those mailers, we highlighted the political spending of her union in particular. The issue here, girly, is not that you have an opinion. That's not what we're pointing out here. Even if I think that your opinion is entirely wrong, you are allowed via free speech to have that opinion, and I respect that immensely, truly. The problem here is that your union took an official, monetized political stance on something that is none of their business. A public sector union is by nature funded by the taxpayer. And in what world is it ever okay, for any publicly funded venture to have any sort of biased political opinion on anything, let alone take that taxpayer money and spend it on that biased political opinion? Your union's job, their only job, is to negotiate the wages, benefits, and working conditions of their members. Standing in solidarity with Palestine and spending money to support that stance are in no way a part of that job. Moving on.
So why are they doing this then? Public approval of unions is at its highest level since 1965. And confidence in unions has increased while confidence in other institutions has decreased.
Has it though? Even if I were to see that general approval for unions has gone up, membership numbers have actually just been going down. Not only have they been going down, there's been a historically significant downturn in membership happening right now. This whole claim about confidence in unions means nothing when your membership numbers are plummeting. It's the worst they've been in years. It's almost like workers are getting wise to how much you guys kind of suck and how much you don't do for people when you claim to. Oh my goodness. People say stuff like that and it's like confidence in unions is up. No, it's not. It's not. Look at the numbers. You can take a poll and hear from word of mouth all you want, but when you look at the actual numbers of membership, they're plummeting. And what does that tell you truly about people's confidence and support of unions? Doesn't tell you anything good.
So if you get a mailer from the Freedom Foundation promising you free money, throw that right where it belongs and stand strong with your union.
Ugh. Ew. And then she concludes this video by putting on a very smug expression and symbolically ripping up a mailer while staring at us in the camera. Mercifully, though, this nonsense was only about 4 minutes long and was a fraction of the 25-minute long hell I had to sit through when watching that SSCU podcast. My ending comments on all of this are the same. These attempts at debunking and attacking Freedom Foundation are weak, and they rely on the same two arguments that I've proven time and time again to be logical fallacies and, more importantly, a poor faith, ill-fitting representation of the importance and truth of what workers' freedoms looks like. The first is that Labor on the Line wants you to believe that the only way to be pro-worker is to be pro-union, which is incorrect. I will shout that from the rooftops till the day I die. That is a fallacy. That is incorrect. It's annoying that this girl is trying to attack us for being realists, and she comes across as being ridiculous at the end of the day. Secondly, and finally, nothing about our work is deceptive. And this is probably the more important point, is that nothing that we do is deceptive. It's not trickery. Our whole mission is based around transparency and accountability. Part of that is simply telling the truth. And that's what the opt-out messaging we provide is. It's the ability to opt out, which is just telling the truth. The existence of this video, again, proves that what we're doing is important and that public workers deserve to know their rights. If this girl in labor on the line really didn't think we were anything to worry about, then babe, you wouldn't have made a video about us. I respond to these videos because I want to show you that it's not difficult to logically debunk what these people are saying, because the nature of their argument is so weak. I also have a whole lot of fun in doing so. I love getting sent ridiculous videos and then looking into them, because it doesn't take long to start poking holes in what they're saying, because what they're saying doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So thanks for the free advertising, Labor on the Line. You're a peach. And some parting advice: don't wear a shirt with a slogan on it that could be easily applied to your own union leadership. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.
Those who say that we're in a time when there are no heroes, they just don't know where to look.